Thank you for accepting the invitation, Raul. I'm Nick, and I'm the founder of the Founders Project.io. We interview YC founders, all sorts of interesting people, angels, VCs, and experts in their domains. Today, I'd like to talk about Boitas.com, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yes, correct. Voitas.com.
Yeah. So, could you please tell us more about who you are and what's your startup?
Yes, thank you very much for the time. I think it's always good to share experiences with other founders, and I think young founders sometimes they can learn a lot from these interviews, from failure, from success, and it's great to have this space. Voitas, Voitas evolve, and I think this is something that I would like to talk to you, because sometimes founders were afraid of pivoting your business models. And sometimes we start with something that is a great idea, but then you start understanding that the product doesn't meet the market. You don't get product market fit. Sometimes it's because there's no willingness to pay. Sometimes the target customer is really small. So all this you need to consider when you're building a product. And then you need to understand that it's okay to pivot for a bigger opportunity. So in our case, based on my background, I decided to create a B2B marketplace with a overstock approach. What happened is, like, I lived for 10 years in China, and for many years I built thousands of different products. So a lot of like anywhere from auto parts to furniture to oil and gas, chemical products, so electronics, anything you can imagine that is being sold in a supermarket. I had been in a factory developing these products. So what I learned is, like, a lot of the supermarkets or importers in each country, when they try to sell the product to the supermarket and the product is not being sold, normally the supermarkets send them the product back. So there's a lot of products waiting in warehouses without digital exposure. And this overstock normally is not being sold in direct to consumer because it will take them forever. I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have this kind of glasses. In this case, is a Yeti. Mind that you bring 10,000 to Mexico. You try to sell it to Walmart. Walmart just sold 8,000. They send you 2,000 back, and you are stuck with 2,000 in overstock. It's consuming space. Direct to consumer is just a pain because it takes forever to sell one by one 2,000 of them. So there's no way you can sell them by box. So that's why we thought, okay, if we can create like a marketplace where we can sell B2B as a wholesaler with a product that is being the importer is willing to sell below the cost because it's an overstock, then we can create something. So we built the first overstock wholesale marketplace in Mexico. And we were doing great. We launched in August. And when we launched, it took us 4 months to reach $250,000 of sales in GMV, which was great. We were profitable, we were making money. It was amazing because we were cheaper than bringing products from China, but already in Mexico, without the hustle, delivering 2 days. You have a lot of people willing to put their products there because there was nothing like it. When we entered they asked the right questions. I think when we talked to the partners, they told us, okay, Raul is great. It's a good business, a good marketplace, but how can you scale this to $100 million business? And the hard part of this is, like, when you have a marketplace, you need demand and offer. When you cannot support the offer because you would depend on the overstock of different importers, the product is not scalable. So it was the first challenge we faced. So we're going to do a B2B marketplace, and we're understanding that the offer cannot be sustained or stable. We're not able to grow it. And this scares a lot of investors. If you are not able to sustain, then you will never grow to $100 million marketplace. Maybe, and there's this perspective that if you do the same idea in the US, maybe you could. Maybe if you do this in in Spain, it wouldn't work. So the market has a good influence in the business model. So it's something to be to consider. We were doing this in Mexico and Latin America. So that was our first challenge. So to be able to support the offer, we needed to have a stable supply, right? So we decided to explore ideas of, okay, what can we explore, or which industries we can try, and understand which are the metrics that are more important. The most important metrics in a marketplace B2B are 5 or 6. That's it. Those are the units economics, the more important. The first one is the CAC, cost of acquisition. How much it costs you to acquire a customer? The second one is AOV, average order value. The third one is, what is the margin that you can get when you are selling a product? Then is the frequency, how often this customer will pay. Then the size of the market. And then when you have more data, you can measure the lifetime value. With these 6 units or economics, you're able to decide, okay, if one industry makes sense or doesn't make sense. So sometimes we try to explore, let's say, and we did it. For 6 months, we tried 8 different industries. Beauty, furniture, no, furniture, no. Tools, like things like hardware. We try dentists, we try restaurants. We try to supply all these different SMBs that we know that they have like a frequent consumption, that AOV we didn't know, that we understood that the TAM was in some cases big enough, in other cases was small. And then based on data, we start understanding which ones make sense for us to explore. So we first, we went, let's say, barber shops. In Mexico, there are only 68,000. They buy one time a month, and they buy only $50. It costs to acquire a customer $20, and but the frequency, the AOV is very low. The CAC, in a way, is high. So it didn't make sense to explore. There are not so many of them. So we decided to get rid of barber shops, for example. Beauty, we tried beauty. And what happened in beauty is that normally beauty companies, or in this case, the brands, they spend a lot of money educating the customers. So we were not able, if we wanted to get into it, we need to spend a lot of money creating brands, second in education, and then third in sales. So we start understanding that the brands already were putting a lot of money into education, that the final customers, let's say beauty salons, nail salons, haircuts, and all these consumers or constant suppliers, buyers, they need a support. So we didn't want to explore that. We didn't want to spend a lot of money into it. It's something we didn't know how to even deal with it. And they were asking for brands. We didn't have them. So we decided to get rid of, don't do this. Then we started exploring ideas such as tools, hardware. It's huge, the business, because every hardware store has a lot of products, AOVs are high, but you need to have more than 100,000 SKUs in some cases. It's crazy, because there's one, let's say one little nut, then you need a bowl, and then you need, and there are so many different sizes. So SKUs, there are so many SKUs. So if you're not experienced in this industry, it's really difficult to enter. Then you have to become like distributor of the importer or brand owner, and then it's another kind of a skill that you need to have. And then we start exploring a lot of ideas. Once we reached restaurants, we understood that it was the biggest opportunity for us. Why? Because we understood that they need the product to be able to run their business. So it was a critical supply product. We understood that we can create models to predict consumption, because normally they buy always like really stable supply. So we were able to predict consumption based on the type of restaurant and based on the location. So it was amazing that we knew that in certain area, let's say in Mexico, there are 50 restaurants, Japanese restaurants, and they have 10 products that they were like key for them: rice, alga nori, soy sauce, salmon, tuna fish. So there were different products that with them, the restaurant cannot sell. So you can predict consumption. And normally they always buy the same in the same moment. So it was great because you can create some technology to predict consumption. and you can base that demand on your whole wholesale purchase, and you can lower the cost. It's like a model of group buying. We like it because there were like normally AOVs were really high, frequency were 2 to 3 times a week. We were saving between 5 to 10 days a week in just for the person of procurement or the owner of the restaurant going to Sam, to Costco, going to the market, local markets to buy all these supplies. And we were saving time to him, we were saving money, and we were able to have like a good business model case. So we decided to focus on restaurants. And then we have to, once you decide the industry in our way or in our business model, we understood that even though margins were not high, once you reach certain volume, you can buy from the CPGs. Once you buy from them, then your margins will increase. And then you need to start putting warehousing in places. Then you have to have like last mile delivery. To be able to have certain level of service, you have to have all this in place. If you want to consolidate, let's say, an order, you need to be able to get products from different CPEs and then be able to sell it or deliver it in one order. So we're doing really great. And then we raised some capital. We have a clear roadmap of growth of our tech product, our how to acquire customers. Then in 2022, we were not able to raise capital. It was a hard part. We're already like a big team, and the market just collapsed. Like everyone that was deploying capital into the market just stopped putting money into the market, and we got crushed by the market. We're not able to fund like the roadmap or like the team, the deliveries. And this is something that is very important to transmit any founder. You have to be able, once you're creating like a marketplace, in our case, like B2B, you need to understand how much money you need to run this business or grow it so you can raise enough for the future. In our case, we were so happy in 2021 that we didn't want to get diluted. Valuations were crazy. We say, okay, 2022 will be the same, and it wasn't. So the whole market changed. Everyone is knocking doors, like trying to invest in our company, and then we just moved from being this way to not being able to raise capital. It was tough. So I know that's part of the journey we had with Voitas.com.
Would you say that in the case of B2B marketplaces, the two most important things, let's say for sustained growth and for growth in general, are unit economics and solving, the chicken and the egg problem, the liquidity problem of marketplaces?
Yes, but I think in B2B, you need to also have like a good go-to-market strategy. I think there's something that I think founders they don't see it. It's so difficult to get customers in a B2B marketplace. So let's say that you think that doing a TikTok campaign will help you getting customers. So hard. Let's say in the restaurant, let's put an example in the restaurant business. Even though you have a million views in a video, let's say TikTok, it's so hard to get the person that decides what to buy and what not to buy. So hard. So you need to understand what are the ways that you can capture the decision makers in this case that will buy from you. So sometimes you need, in a B2B, you need to use salespeople like traditional ways, or at least understand what are the small hacks that you can do. For example, there are these restaurant unions in each state in Mexico, so it's better to go with the president of this union and then give them a speech about how they can save money. You give them like a free seminar, everyone will come to you of how can they save money administrating their restaurant, and then you sell them the product. So you need to find these small hacks and become creative in the way you're going to capture more people. And I think that applies in a lot of the business, in B2B businesses. And it's also, as I mentioned, it depends also in the market. In the US, maybe it will be a lot easier to reach customers online. I'm surprised that in some cases, a lot of the customers are in Facebook marketplaces, in Facebook groups, and that's the business channel. I think it's key to detect which is your best sales channel so you can have a better conversion rate.
So how did you approach your initial customers? Was it cold emailing? Was it cold calling? Did you determine the key decision makers and then try to cold email them or call them or whatever?
Once we decided the industry, in our case was restaurants, what we first did is, okay, let's map all the restaurants in each area. Okay, so we started with Monterrey in Mexico, in the north part of Mexico, and we map everyone. We put a pin in Google, like in a Google map, we put all the pins in every restaurant around. Then we start understanding what was the most like areas concentration of restaurants in a certain area. And then we detect 3 of them special. And then we start putting people to go and knock doors. So every person, we created a small system where they can check in so we can have a better control and understand the metrics of conversion rates. If they visit, how many times was the business owner in the restaurant? 50%. Okay, great. You have to come back. So one person can visit 20 restaurants in one day. 50% of the time, the business owner was not there. Then the other 50% that the owner was there, 50% of that 10% didn't want the service. And then the other 50 was interested in getting a quotation. So to understand the timing, how do you create the funnel, it gives you a lot of information. And the feedback that they give you, the ones that they are not buying from you, that you meet them in face. The important thing is why they don't want to even get a quotation. No, it's because they are really happy with their supplier. So you get information on who is their supplier. Sometimes the procurement guy will be there, not the owner, and he say, no, that's my job to go, and if you do it for me, then I won't have a job. It was interesting, that kind of feedback. So getting that feedback was really important for the future of our next steps in the way we approach them. Then we start creating small hacks like the ones like we went to events where all the restaurant owners were, so we can capture 100 people that they were decision makers in one place, in one room, and we were sponsors of that place, and we sell them face to face. And that's why we start doing different approaches.
So hiring somebody to just knock on the doors was your own version of doing things on scale, right?
They won't scale. Yeah,
Yeah.
this way won't scale, but it's the
Also,
way that you learn the feedback and you understand where they are.
right. It's also
That's the only.
interesting. It's not really a popular subject, but business is different, and it's subject to its location. So as you said, maybe in the United States, people will be more willing to try out new things, or maybe just to explore different alternatives. If we take Latin America, maybe Italy, Spain, they're usually more close to innovation. So let's say in Italy, there's a bigger share of family businesses. So they're generally
But
quite skeptical too.
I think it's changing, but you need to create products that people uh, don't get a kind of a friction, right? The friction is the thing that between technology and a user that will affect them. Let's say in our case, the first approach that we did in the visits, we got really good feedbacks. We understood that the way they order or they would prefer the ordering was not in a marketplace B2B, it was by using WhatsApp. So then you start building based on the user, what the user wants. So we start putting like a chatbot in WhatsApp, and then people start ordering by WhatsApp. So it saved them time. It saved you time, because getting into the marketplace, developing, doing an account, getting the invoice, they want everything easy. So when you understood that, then you create a product that maybe the marketplace goes to second phase, and then you start just doing a product that the sales channel or the ordering channel is WhatsApp. Then you can connect it to your B2B marketplace or whatever. But it's based on what makes the customer buy more, right? Because you want frequency, you want easy, you want frictionless products. So in Latin America, it's very important to use WhatsApp, for instance.
So you could basically build just a standalone product for either the supply part or the demand side of the market. Then eventually, as you gain traction, it could become you could transition to the marketplace, right?
Correct.
That's similar to what Open Table did with restaurants and Eventbrite as well. First, they developed something very specific for the supply side, and eventually they got traction, managed to build a product on top of that, and convert
Correct.
all the users.
That's why the feedback is really important. That's why it's good to visit. That's why is better to talk to them. You need
In your
to make their life easy. Otherwise, there won't be a willingness to pay.
right, and in your case, was it more difficult to hack supply or hack demand?
No, I think in any marketplace, if you go to a person and tell them, "I will help you sell more," everyone will say, "Oh, great." Even as a CPE. So the offer will be always there. So that's the important part. You need to focus on the guy that is paying for the service or the goods. Focus on that guy, solve the problem for that guy. Supply, I think, is the easy part. Everyone wants you to help them sell more. Brands, distributors, wholesalers, everyone. So I see a lot of founders starting to get the supply and worry about. And I don't know, there's a very important I think case study of diapers.com, right? What they did is you sell diapers online, bring the demand, and then you go to Walmart and buy them and lose money in every transaction. That's fine. But then you understand what are the patterns, you understand who is your customer, you understand what are the price that they're willing to pay. And then you go with the wholesaler or Procter and Gamble. In this case, they started buying from Walmart, and then once they have like they reach certain amount of volume, they can go with the CPE and you become a distributor.
What were the main bottlenecks besides what you previously enumerated in launching and scaling the marketplace?
What was the sorry again?
The main bottlenecks. I mean, the main problems that if you would solve them, you would progress forward.
I think I think uh, every person in like you're the CEO, raising capital is hard for anyone. Building the product correctly is hard. Uh, I think at the beginning is trying to understand the great mix between building a product, getting commercial design, and everyone in technology involved. And that's why I think the most important while you're designing a product is having everyone together. But you don't realize this. So sometimes the technology team just get apart, but they don't get the feeling of the customers. So what we did at the beginning, it took us a lot of time to figure that out, and we decided to bring the CTO for sales pitch. We put him to sell products. He went visit restaurant, got rejected a lot of times. So we want him to understand what each salesperson was living day and day every day. Then we put him to pack orders in the warehouse, so he understood what it takes or how long it takes and how the system need to work to be able to do it. So it took us time to figure that out because technology just sometimes is not involved in the sales part or the whole how operation leaves the orders, and they don't talk to the customer. Once they understood that, it was easier to build, but it was one of the pains at the beginning that we have building something else that was not needed, and that was hard.
That's a
And
very
and another
interesting, to make your CTO get a bottom-up understanding of other processes that are related to his specific responsibilities, let's say. Would you say that
I
it's
think
important to keep the team physically together in one place, even though now it's this trend with virtual employees and remote work, at least the core members?
no, I don't think need to be together. Actually, our CTO was in Mexico City, and we're in Monterrey, and I don't think it makes a lot of sense. We're always talking to each other. What it's important is when you're building a product, at least at the beginning, being able to always be together and have this kind of approach or experience, so they understand that the real problem they are solving, and it'll be a lot easier. But I don't think everyone needs to be together. A hybrid model would be fine. It's always good to talk in person. Once you don't know your team, that's sometimes hard. For us, we had a lot of developers in other places in the world, and you don't get to talk to them in like as a CEO, you meeting at the beginning, it's important to your core team. It's nice to meet them, see who's their family. I don't know, in Latin America, this builds relationship, confidence, compromise. It's more than just a company.
So your first version of the MVP, as I understand, was just a WhatsApp chatbot, right?
No, our first, we created a B2B marketplace.
Yeah, I mean the MVP, let's say the first version of the product or your pre-product.
Well, we created the whole marketplace. That
Mhm.
was the first version. We created it was not like we don't develop we didn't code. We actually used like a market like a Shopify. We did an e-commerce, but it was with a structure. No, it was WooCommerce actually. We use WooCommerce with a structure of you can sign in and you can as a supplier and you can log in as a user. And we use products before even going to Y-Combinator before anything. Our MVP was a WooCommerce. We put I don't know $4,000 into it, and it was an easy way to at least try and see what happened. And we did really well.
All right. And about YC, why did you decide to apply to YC? Was it for advice for the partners specifically, or maybe for the network of investors and access to funding?
I think we were seeing Y Combinator companies doing great things. Something that we really got inspired. It was more, we didn't realize that how big it was. We just see them like the Airbnbs, the Stripes, the Brex, all these kind of companies that were really successful. And we're like, okay, we want to be part of this. But once we enter into Y Combinator, we understood that like it's more than just inspiration, great mentorship, great network, very smart people together. And then you have people from all kind of backgrounds building all kinds of great ideas. And once you start talking to them, you get a lot of really good feedbacks. Everyone is, I always see, it's a good community because everyone is willing to help. And this makes it share knowledge and approaches. And you have a bunch of amazing people sharing ideas. And then you have access to these results as building a better company, getting good investors. I don't know. It's just amazing how the community had been building is amazing.
So as far as I understand, you got in on your first try, right?
Yeah, we did. We went into the winter 21 batch.
Yeah. And do you think, let's suppose that you didn't get in, would anything change about your startups or about your startup, about Boitas? Would it be any different?
I think there's a lot of things you can change in the way that you approach technology. Like before investing highly or get pressure or on building like a really robust product, connecting your huge CRM before putting and spending money in marketing things. You need to figure first what product you're building and the people, even though you have like 10 users, 20 users, you need to build product that people love. That's a motto of Y Combinator. Build products that people love. Otherwise, you have this pressure sometimes, and you feel pressure about growth, and sometimes growth is being buy with money. But I don't think it makes sense because in the long run, you'll run out of money before you can even build a product that people love. So it's better just to understand, spend a lot of time trying to understand what your solution is solving, that people love it, and then have a really clear customer. And then you will be growing little by little, maybe at the beginning, then once you have like a certain base, you can have like this grow hacks and everything you want. But at the beginning, I think the team needs to spend more time understanding what they are solving and that the initial users love your product. Like product market fit is, I know it's really trivial word and everything, but I think it's really important. And if you are not reaching product market fit, it's okay to pivot. it's okay to try different things.
Right. And in your case, how would you define the product market fit? How did you know that you have some clues that it's approaching and you're close to finding it?
There's a lot of definitions there out there. There's one that it's when your demand surpass your offer, right? But I think product market fit is something that you feel, you see the same customers coming again. You in the B2B world, you start understanding the customer are coming back, they're happy, they are giving you even feedback. You start, I think it's something you feel that you see. I don't know, you leave it because you see that they come back because they are happy with the product you're offering or with the service you're getting. So once you reach that number of exponential growth, there's people referring you, there's people coming to you organically, you will understand that you're in product market fit. It's like, I don't know if you remember, but maybe 10 or 15 years ago when you talk to someone that was an Apple user, like a MacBook user, they always talk to you about the computer and how amazing it was. And they were like salespeople. They were like I don't know, it was like a religion. And that because you were really happy using the product. See, every time you go to places, have you seen the Apple computer is great? And then people will sell you the Apple computer, and even they were not Apple salespeople. So once you start reaching that part where people start referring your product without even getting like a referral fee, then you are in product market fit.
So when word of mouth becomes one of the channels of the customer acquisition, that's when you know that you're close to finding a product market fit, right?
Yeah.
And you know that the main reason why this project couldn't go on is because you didn't find funding and the market was changing. It was a downturn in the market.
No, our business model, once we understood which business model we want to pursue, the most important thing is one of the important things or important leg for us was to be able to fund it. So we're not a SaaS, we had to have this quality of service. We understood that this market needed money. So if you don't have money to give that service, you'll be losing your customers. So we're not able to sustain that.
So in your case, but how was your roadmap looking at that time? But I mean, if you would manage to get funding, how would you proceed to develop
Like
your marketplace?
for us, the most important it was like in the restaurant supply is very fraction. Like there's a lot of suppliers, there's a lot of problems, there's a lot of bad service. So having a one supplier overall help them save a lot of time and money. So normally what they do is one restaurant start ordering, let's say, just the meat from you, or let's say just the compostable glasses or any like some part of the product. Once you start giving them a good service, to start ordering more products and more products and more products. So when you see the cohorts of how was the customer behaving every time they would be start growing, so it was really good. So for us, the most important thing was to acquire more customers, to give enough volume for the service to be completely break even. Like our goal was to break even, reach break even, because you don't need extra like other like outside capital. We decided just to focus in one city instead of just opening a lot of cities to get really good, have like a stable business model that makes money, then raise capital to open another city. With the first learning, our roadmap was really easy. We understood that it took us 6 months that we can open another city, and we were reaching a break-even point. So we knew that every time we open a new warehouse, it would take us 6 months. But you need to get to certain volume. So for us, was reaching that volume at the beginning, and then we knew it will cost us money. So if we had money, our roadmap, it was okay. stable each business, and then open the next one, and then start increasing the AOV per customer and retaining them. I think that's important, and you do it using service and give them in tools to order easier.
In your case, what were the key expense drivers as you started scaling? Was it labor or customer acquisition costs or
No, customer acquisition, it was a point, but lifetime value was really long and it was really good. So we were not as scared about spending a lot of money in acquiring customers because frequency, AOVs, everything makes sense, like economic wise. The problem was the cost of optimizing assets. Let's say that you have, let's say, a warehouse that is able to process 5,000 orders a month. If you're processing 1,000, you're losing every time. Until you reach at least 2,500, you're able to optimize and get to a break-even point when you see it facing the cost of operations. So every order, you start losing time, you start losing money until you reach that point. And this happened also in the last mile delivery. Once you have like a truck that can deliver, let's say, 10 or 20 orders, at the beginning, you start creating routes so they make it more efficient, right? But you need to have enough density or volume of orders to you be able to lower the cost. So these two things are very important: the cost of serving an order and the cost of delivering. And then on the other side, in the commercial side, you have AOV. That was important, and the frequency. With this, for let's say shift, you can operate a B2B marketplace in our industry.
right? Maybe we have some startups at this point that are in the same situation as you were before, the downturn in the funding market. Is there any way to make your startup less susceptible, less fragile to changes in the investor capital and investors' willingness to invest?
I think when we're talking about technology, if I will do it again, I'll focus more on the technology and I'll get rid of all the capex. I will not build warehouses, not last mile delivery, no assets. I will do it like really asset light model. I will focus more on the technology and and actually when you think about the technology approach, you need to think about always what you're solving, and I see it, that's my perspective or my opinion. You have to do three things to any customer: or you help them sell more, or you help them save money, or you make them 10 times more efficient in what they are doing. If you think in these three branches and you're doing one of those, I think it will be very easy to sell your product. But I will focus in the whole time in technology products.
All right. And how did YC change you personally and as a founder? Many people tell me that after YC, they feel more confidence in decision making. I mean, they believe that they could actually solve problems and nothing will stop them. They are actually confident in their decision making abilities.
I think YC gives you certain way. It gives you like I don't know, first a network with very smart people. And if you feel even that you are like you're not the smartest guy in that room, right? That's great. That's a great because it makes you humble. Everyone is really humble about it, of what they're building, even though they're creating satellites, they're creating self-driving cars, they're building rockets. Everyone is really humble, and it's amazing what people are building and they're like really doing in the world. That's like eye-opening. It gives you like a lot of I don't know, confident. It gives you like you feel with a network of people you can ask them questions, and no question is dumb. So it gives you a lot of like someone like a support net. Um, people you can talk to about that they already are building a B2B marketplace, for instance. There's like a lot of them that they already created one. Some of them they were successful, some of them they fail, and then you can talk to them, and you don't feel like so alone in this journey of creating a startup. I think it changed my life in that way. That every time, like now that I think about building new companies, I know who to ask, where to ask, um, and I think it gives you also a perspective of doing things bigger. It doesn't you lose that I don't know. Sometimes you're scared of building something bigger, but once you start seeing people doing great things, you feel that you're the same. You have the same capacity. You can do it, and I don't know. It gives you a possibility.
Thank you for your insights. We have some founders that are actually working on B2B marketplaces, but most of them are working on B2C. But still, this problem of chicken and the egg and hacking the supply or the demand is very, very relevant for everybody.
I think
Thank
it's
you for
hard.
this.
I
Yeah.
think creating a marketplace is hard. Choose a niche, focus on that niche, understand what you're solving, and I think that's and don't over create products. Don't spend a lot of creating a product that people will never use because it's over engineer, over produce. Just consider that.
Yes, and actually try to talk to your users. Never assume that you actually understand them.
Most important. There's a book, the really good book of one of YC founders that is called The Mom Test. I think this is a book that is really helps you understand how people face a problem or solve the current problem, and then how can you to have an approach to it. So happy to share, and great talking to you. I hope it helps, and if anything, take care.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Okay, bye bye.